Hello and welcome to HCB, where today it is week 24, the predictions for the midweek games. Now I know what you're thinking, Harry, where the, if you know that's my name, HCB, sorry, where is the review show? And basically, one, I didn't realise there were midweek games until very late on, and two, I've been quite busy altogether. I was planning on doing the review show today, on Tuesday, but I didn't realise there was actually games, so I've had to scrap the review show. We're going to go straight into predictions. I will talk a little bit about the games at the weekend, though, during the predictions. We start things off with the Ashley Young Free Derby as Aston Villa take on Watford. Both sides coming off draws at the weekend. Aston Villa being a 1-1 draw against Brighton. Meanwhile, Watford coming off a 0-0 draw against Spurs. I should point out, as I said, I obviously haven't done a review show for those games, but whole lot of draws happened this weekend. Whole lot of draws. It would have been actually quite boring. This one ended 1-0. They were relatively even. We now move on. That's it. It most mainly would have been that. So you probably of all the weeks not to do a review show, this is probably the best one. Anyway, when it comes to history between the two clubs, Watford have won the last 3 games between the two sides, scoring 3 goals in each of them. The most recent win coming 3-0 at Vicarage Road. As for Villa's home record, 4 wins from 11, losing the most recent one 6-1, however, against Man City. But this is Pepe Reina's debut at Villa Park, and also they have signed Samatta from Genk, so they actually have a striker again. They've done very well to get players in. Whether Samatta's any good, I'm sure we'll find out tonight against Watford. I am recording this, by the way, on the Tuesday, so this should hopefully get out before the game start. It will. As for Watford's away form, it hasn't been great. 2 wins from 11, but under Nigel Pearson, they've only lost 1 away game, and that was against Liverpool. They have won the most recent one 3-0 against Bournemouth. As for this game, very tight between the two sides. It's a matter of places. 18th versus 17th here is a massive game for both sides. However, I believe that Watford's form is superior to Villa. I know if you look at players, unless Jack Grealish could easily carry Villa to a win here. There's no question on that. But you look at the players they have, Delafeu's on form, Deeney's on form. They were a penalty win away. They were penalty scoring away from beating Spurs at the weekend. You got to look at it from that aspect and think Watford surely are going to do double over Villa and get another away win. So I'm going to say Watford win 2-1 against Aston Villa. We now move on to the Glen Murray derby as Bournemouth take on Brighton. Both sides, Bournemouth coming off yet another loss, their 4th loss in a row, this one being to Norwich, with Steve Crook doing his best goalie impression. Meanwhile, Brighton coming off a draw against Aston Villa. Last time these two sides met, Brighton came out 2-0 winners at the Amex, but it was their first win in 5 meetings between the two sides. Bournemouth have not lost in their other 4. And the last time they came to Vitality Stadium, Bournemouth won 2-0 in 2018. But you got to look, Bournemouth have not been good. Only 2 wins from home this season. The last one being in November. And if you also look, their goal scoring is a massive issue. In 9 games, you can definitely tell I counted in my head. In 9 games, they've only scored 2 goals, which is very, very poor. And in their last 4 games, they have conceded 10, so very poor all round. As for Brighton, they have been on one of their worst forms this season, only winning once since early December. However, that win was against Bournemouth. You've got to bear that in mind. But away from home, they haven't been great. 2 wins away all season, the most recent being against Arsenal in early December. Overall, this game, Bournemouth were bad enough as it is, but you take away now their best centre-back, arguably one of their best centre-backs, maybe Nathan Ake is probably slightly better, and now you think, well, what the hell are they going to do now? Brighton, despite their poor form, are a good side and can attack very easily, and they proved that last time they played. Aaron Moy starred in the last time these two sides played. While I might not necessarily be the star of this game, I can definitely play very well. So I'm going to say it'll be another comfortable win for Brighton. It'll be 2-0 to the Seagulls. We now move on to the Jose Font derby as Southampton take on Crystal Palace. Crystal Palace coming off yet again another draw. This one being 2-2 against Man City. That game was titled if Liverpool hadn't won the league already. I should point out just quickly because I wanted to make a point of this. Czech Tosin scored against Man City. That's the punchline really. Czech Tosin scored at the Etihad against Man City. I was sitting there at 8 minutes like, please let this be the winner. Unfortunately, it wasn't. Anyway, meanwhile, Southampton basically were 2-0 up against Wolves early this weekend. And basically, the second half, they remembered they were Southampton and ended up losing 3-2. You can partly blame me for that, probably with Danny Ings being my fantasy team. I mean, he's still in there this week, Southampton fans, so good luck. With Palace, obviously, they've come off their 4th draw now, back-to-back. Overall, at home, they've been decent. Their last home win coming on Boxing Day against West Ham, but are unbeaten at home since late November. As for Southampton, their away form has been good. 5 wins from 11. They've actually probably been better away from home, winning their last 3 away games on the bounce to Leicester, Chelsea and Aston Villa. So as for this game, I believe that these sides are on very par form at the moment. You've got to look. Danny Ings is doing well for Crystal Palace. I should point out the last time these two sides met was a 1-1 draw at St Mary's. And to be honest, I believe that there will be no difference this time out. Not much has changed since the last time these two sides met, other than the fact Southampton have probably got slightly better. But overall, Palace away is a very hard game to go to, and with the form Palace are on, I can't see it changing. It'll be 1-1 at Selhurst. We now move on to the Duncan Ferguson derby as Everton take on Newcastle. Both sides looking to win, really, as any game does. I don't know where I was going with that. Everton drew at the weekend 1-1 at West Ham. Meanwhile, Newcastle coming out with a last-minute winner against Chelsea with Isaac Hayden bagging the goal. I should point out, obviously, again, not doing a review show, but I just have to mention the fact that Matt Ritchie did kick a corner flag into a guy's balls. Just think that's... It's quite funny. The ironic thing is that's probably the most accurate Matt Ritchie has been all season, unfortunately. As for the last time these two sides met, Everton came out 2-1 winners, and overall Everton have won 7 of the last 10 meetings between the two sides, and Newcastle's only 2 wins have come at home. Newcastle away from home haven't been great, only 3 wins from 11, their most recent win coming in early December. Meanwhile, Everton are very decent at home, 6 wins from 11, winning their last unbeaten in their last 4 home games. As for this game, I believe that what the Everton-West Ham game showed, that if you are not clinical against Everton, they will punish you from things like set pieces. And you've also got to look at the fact that Newcastle, especially without St. Maxim, I mean, they've got him back now, have shown that they are not very clinical. And also, you've got to look at the possession thing. Ancelotti likes to play possession football. Newcastle don't like to play possession football, so they'll probably counteract each other quite nicely. Overall, though, I'm going to say that Newcastle's lack of clinicalness, that's a word, will halt their progress in this game, and I believe Everton will win 2-0. We now move on. That I should point out, that's meant to say 2-1. I actually think they'll win 2-1. I've got that wrong on the thing. That is meant to say 2-1. We now move on to the Carl Walker free derby as Sheffield United take on Man City. Both sides coming off draws at the weekend. I mean, who isn't? Arsenal were the drawers with Sheffield United the weekend. Meanwhile, Man City dropping points to Crystal Palace at home once again in a 2-2 draw. Overall, the last time these two sides met, Man City came out 2-0 winners. It was Sheffield United's first away loss of the season. Since then, they have also lost away to Liverpool. But at home, they have won more games. 5 wins from 11. They're unbeaten at home in their last 3. Meanwhile, Man City are 7 wins from 11 and won their last game 6-1 away from home against Aston Villa. As for this game, I believe that this is going to be very tight. It's going to be very hard to call. And I'm going to put this similarly to the Liverpool-Sheffield United game earlier on in this season at Bramall Lane, where Sheffield United were a Henderson mistake away from actually taking a point from Liverpool. Now, I'm not saying Henderson's going to make a mistake, but I believe it will be that level of closeness, and I believe City will just manage to squeeze a win and get back on winning ways. They will win 1-0. We now move on to the Cesc Fabregas derby, in the late kickoff this evening as Chelsea play Arsenal. Chelsea coming off a loss away against Newcastle. Meanwhile, Arsenal coming off another draw at home to Sheffield United. With regards to the history between the two sides, Chelsea have won 6 of the last 8 meetings, winning the last 2, with the most recent win coming 2-1 at the Emirates. Meanwhile, you look at Arsenal's away form. That has been their Achilles heel all season. 2 wins from 11, which for Arsenal, shocking. Their last away win coming against West Ham, but they are unbeaten in 5 away games. Note and when you contrast that to Chelsea's home form, that hasn't been good either. 5 wins from 11, which sounds good, but they've only won 1 game, and they have won their most recent home game 3-0. But they have also lost to the likes of Southampton, Bournemouth and West Ham recently. As for this game, it is going to be incredibly close between the two sides. I believe there will be a lot of goals in this game. There's usually one midweek game that usually throws stuff like this, but I believe Chelsea will narrowly beat them at Stamford Bridge, as they did the last time. They beat them 3-2 last time at Stamford Bridge. I'm going to say the same thing's going to happen this time. It'll be 3-2 to Chelsea. We now move on to the Wednesday games, as the first one's the Tony Coddy derby as Leicester play West Ham. Leicester coming off another loss, this one to Burnley, away from home. Meanwhile, West Ham coming off a draw against Everton. Away from the last time these two sides met, Leicester won 2-1 at the London Stadium, signifying Pellegrini's last game in charge of West Ham. And in the last 10 results, Leicester have won 5, drawn 4. There have been 4 draws, and West Ham have only won 1. But their one has come away from home. West Ham's away form has been iffy at best. They have lost 3 wins from 11, losing their last 2 away games to Sheffield United and Palace. As for Leicester's home form, it has been one of the best in the league. Only 2 losses at home all season, but they have come that have been their last 2 home games to Liverpool and Southampton. As for this game, now, yes, should I be predicting Leicester to all of a sudden, because they're now in bad form, enter West Ham, they'll all of a sudden win? Yes, I should be doing that. But you know what? If you're going on form, and you're going on the belief I have in the West Ham side I currently have, which I have a bit of belief, I believe that we just lacked a bit of clinicalness against Everton, then I believe if we take to this Leicester side, we can actually get something out of this game. So I'm going to say it's going to be a draw. It's going to be 1-1, and don't worry, I know I'm going to be wrong, but it's nice to have optimism for your club. It's been a while. Let me have some optimism. We now move on to the Who Needs Away Wins derby as Spurs take on Norwich. Norwich coming off their first win in ages against Bournemouth, 1-0 win there. Meanwhile, Spurs coming off another winless game, this one being a 0-0 draw against Watford, extending that winless run to 4, and that's 1 win from 6 games now. With regards to the history, these two sides drew their last game 2-2. Overall, Spurs have the upper hand with 4 wins from their last 9 games against Norwich. As for Spurs' home form, it's been what's helped them this season. 6 wins from 11, but they have lost their most recent game at home to Liverpool. Meanwhile, Norwich, the away form has been obviously shocking. Only 1 win from 11, that coming in late November against Everton. Since then, they have not done anything away from home. As for this game, I believe that it's going to be tight because both teams still poor form, and Norwich did play well last time they played Spurs, but I believe that Spurs' quality will shine through in this game, and they will narrowly win 1-0. We now move on to the Tom Heaton derby as Man United take on Burnley. Man United coming off a 2-0 loss against Liverpool. Meanwhile, Burnley coming off a 2-1 win against Leicester. As for the history between the two sides, Man United have won 2-0 last time, and in their last 10 meetings, they have won 6 of 10. There have been 4 draws. Burnley have not beaten Man United in the last 10 meetings. As for this game, as for Man United's home form, it's what's helped them this year. 6 wins from 11. They are unbeaten at home since since August, which has definitely helped them. As for Burnley's away form, only 2 wins away from home from 11. Their most recent one coming against Bournemouth. But other than that, they've only taken 6 points, away, 9 points away from home all season long. As for this game, I believe that despite Man United's poor game, people were saying Burnley might nick something out of this. At the end of the day, Man United's home form is what's been keeping them in the top 5 at the moment. So I believe that this will be no different, and I say Man United will comfortably win this game 3-1. We now move on to the Paul Ince 2 derby as Wolves take on Liverpool, because there's literally no other players that's played for both sides, so I'm going to have to use Paul Ince 2. Both sides coming off wins, but Wolves being a 3-2 comeback win away against Southampton. Meanwhile, Liverpool coming off another win against Man United. Of course, they're coming off another win. As for the history between the two sides, Liverpool won the last game 1-0 at Anfield and have won the last 6 meetings. In the last 6 meetings between the two sides, Wolves only 1 win in the last 9, and that was an away win, probably when Roy Hodgson was around. So does it really count? I asked that question a lot. When Roy Hodgson was in charge of Liverpool, do any wins actually count? The answer, not really. Not really, they don't. With regards to Wolves' home form, it's been decent. 4 wins from 11. Their most recent loss coming early in mid-December against Spurs. Meanwhile, Liverpool, they're unbeaten away from home. Obviously, it's the only place they have dropped points against Man United. But you can't really complain. You can't really say, "Oh, that's a bad away record." It's the best away record in the league at the end of the day. As for this game, I've seen a few people say Wolves are going to win this game or at least draw. At the end, I can't see Wolves being the first side to beat Liverpool this season. When Man City's their invincible run stopped, they got beaten by a big side in Liverpool. When Liverpool's unbeaten run stopped, it was against Man City. It's against big sides. Wolves are not a big side. Can I see them drawing? If Liverpool had a few more draws, maybe. But Liverpool are so good, and I know Wolves came close at Anfield, but Wolves haven't been playing that good themselves. They only had to rely on a last-minute comeback win against Southampton to pick up their first win in 4. Liverpool are on some of the best form of their life, so I can't see this going any other way other than a Liverpool win. It's be 2-0 to Liverpool. We now move on to the Fantasy League, and my team this week, by the way, I got 53 points last week, which is 1 more than the week before. Gonna get 54 this week, baby! I've made 1 transfer. Ben Foster has come in for Button just because due to Schmeichel's recent inconsistencies with Leicester and goal. I believe that having actually a second backup option is going to help. And I've put him in for his debut straight away. So the team is Ben Foster in goal, Robertson, Dunk and Van Dijk as a back 3. Traore, De Bruyne, Mane and Grealish in the midfield. Mane is captain. Meanwhile, Abraham, Vardy and Ings up front on the bench. Schmeichel, Sanucci, Lundstrom and Dendoncker. So that's going to be it for this week. Hope you enjoyed it. Hope you like, share and subscribe. Turn on the notification bell, and I will see you on Friday because the Wolves game's on Thursday, so I can't do the review show then. On Friday for the review show.